Africa is waking up and they started kicking out their enemies. They should do the same with their ex-leaders who sold them to France, the UK, Belgium, Holland, and the US. Macron knows very well that France cannot afford economically to survive without the revenues coming from Africa. Some would say that France's commercial exchange is not very large with their ex-colonies. Here we are speaking about the non-declared stolen natural resources. Africa's biggest enemies have been their corrupt leaders. In the heart of Africa, a fervent awakening is taking place. The oppressed masses, long burdened by the chains of colonialism and neo-colonialism, have begun to rise. It is a struggle that echoes across the vast and diverse continent, a struggle that Che Guevara himself would have undoubtedly endorsed. Africa, a land rich in resources and potential, has for too long been subjected to the predatory interests of foreign powers, particularly France, the UK, Belgium, Holland, and the United States. The imperialist legacy of these nations persists in the exploitation of Africa's natural wealth, which remains largely unaccounted for in official trade statistics. This clandestine pillaging is a testament to the continuation of economic imperialism. France, in particular, has maintained a tight grip on its former African colonies, which it still considers its backyard. The French government, led by President Emmanuel Macron, is well aware that its economic survival is, in part, dependent on the vast revenues it extracts from Africa. However, these revenues do not primarily come from transparent and equitable commercial exchanges. Instead, they are derived from the non-declared theft of Africa's invaluable natural resources. To confront this dire situation, the people of Africa must recognize their true enemies. It is not solely the foreign powers and corporations that exploit their land, but also their own corrupt leaders who have betrayed the trust of their nations. These leaders, often puppets of the very forces they should protect their people from, have perpetuated a cycle of exploitation, inequality, and suffering. In the spirit of Che Guevara, who fought tirelessly against the oppression of the Cuban people and the imperialistic forces of the United States, the people of Africa must rise against their oppressors. Just as Che would have advocated for the overthrow of the Batista regime in Cuba, so too must the African people confront their complicit leaders and demand accountability. Africa's awakening is not just a struggle for economic justice but also a battle for self-determination and sovereignty. The continent's vast resources should serve the interests of its people, not foreign powers or corrupt elites. It is a battle that requires unity, solidarity, and a steadfast commitment to breaking the chains of neo-colonialism. In conclusion, the awakening of Africa is a movement that resonates with the revolutionary spirit of Che Guevara. It is a call to action against the exploitation and oppression that have plagued the continent for far too long. The people of Africa must not only challenge foreign powers but also hold their own leaders accountable for their complicity in this injustice. Only through collective struggle and unwavering determination can Africa reclaim its rightful place as a sovereign and prosperous continent. 1. Neocolonialism and exploitation. Africa's struggle today can be likened to the fight against neocolonialism, which Che Guevara vehemently opposed. Former colonial powers like France, the UK, Belgium, Holland, and the US continue to exert influence over African nations, often through economic and political means. Example, the CFA franc, used by several African countries, is controlled by France, and its monetary policy is set in Paris. This arrangement allows France to maintain significant economic control over these African nations. 2. Hidden exploitation of natural resources. While official trade statistics may not show the full extent of Africa's wealth being siphoned off, clandestine resource extraction and exploitation remain rampant. Precious minerals, oil, and other valuable resources are often extracted without proper compensation or benefit to the local populations. Example, conflict minerals in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been exploited for years to fuel international trade, with minimal benefit to the Congolese people. These resources have funded conflict and human rights abuses in the region. 3. Dependency on Africa's resources. France, in particular, relies on Africa for essential resources, including oil, minerals, and agricultural products. The French economy benefits significantly from these resources, creating a dependency that keeps Africa trapped in a cycle of exploitation. Example: France's uranium supply from Niger powers its nuclear energy industry. This resource is crucial for France's energy security, illustrating the extent of its economic reliance on African resources. 4. Corrupt leadership. Africans often find themselves betrayed by their own leaders, who collaborate with foreign powers for personal gain. These corrupt elites maintain power by perpetuating systems of inequality and oppression. Example: the Mobutu Sese Seko regime in the former Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, collaborated with Western powers and corporations while amassing enormous wealth, leaving the country impoverished and destabilized. 5. The call for unity and self-determination. Che Guevara's revolutionary philosophy emphasized the importance of unity among the oppressed. Just as he fought alongside Fidel Castro to liberate Cuba from American imperialism, Africans must unite to break the chains of neocolonialism and reclaim their sovereignty. Example: the Pan-African movement, which sought to unify African nations and promote self-reliance, is a historical example of the continent's desire for unity and self-determination. 6. The role of the masses. Che Guevara believed in the power of the people to effect change. Similarly, Africans must play an active role in demanding accountability from their leaders and resisting foreign exploitation. Example: the 2019 Sudanese revolution, led by civilians, successfully ousted longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir, demonstrating the potential of popular movements to bring about change. In the spirit of Che Guevara, Africa's struggle is a call for justice, self-determination, and the equitable distribution of resources. It is a fight against exploitation, corruption, and the legacy of colonialism that continues to hinder the continent's progress. The awakening of Africa requires the concerted efforts of its people, a commitment to justice, and a unified front against both external and internal oppressors.